There are moments in history that arrive without warning, moments so electrically charged that the human mind cannot return to what it was before them. And this is one of those moments. What unfolds today is not ordinary cosmic movement, and it is not the type of astrology people casually scroll past and forget an hour later. On May 22nd, at 10:30 in the morning, the collective atmosphere changes direction with shocking force. And most of the world will not even realize why their emotions, thoughts, and inner reality suddenly begin behaving differently. Something massive is piercing through the mental field of humanity right now. The reason is simple, yet incredibly powerful. For the very first time since Uranus crossed into Gemini less than 1 month ago, the Sun is making direct contact with it, and whenever Uranus touches anything, silence disappears. This planet does not whisper, it interrupts, it destabilizes. It awakens sleeping parts of consciousness people did not even know existed. History proves this every single time Uranus travels through Gemini. During previous cycles, humanity witnessed the emergence of the telegraph, the Civil War, Darwin's theory of evolution, World War II, the atomic bomb, and the creation of television. These were not minor cultural trends. They were events and inventions that permanently altered the structure of communication, perception, and human understanding itself. That is the scale of energy entering the atmosphere today. This is not symbolic in a soft, poetic sense. This is revolutionary energy, capable of changing the nervous system of civilization. And today, the Sun, the force connected to identity, awareness, consciousness, ego, and personal direction, joins Uranus directly at 1 degree and 30 minutes of Gemini. Astrologers are describing this alignment as a lightning strike, but the truth is that phrase still does not fully capture how intense this experience may feel internally. Some people are already noticing it without understanding why. Thoughts moving too quickly to organize, sudden realizations appearing out of nowhere, a strange sense that the mind is processing reality at an unnatural speed. Maybe you have felt restless lately, unable to settle into old routines that used to comfort you. Maybe conversations feel different, as though people are speaking, but your intuition is hearing something deeper beneath their words. Maybe your nervous system feels overstimulated, almost as if your soul knows change is approaching before your logical mind can explain it. That is not random. There is a specific reason this acceleration is happening to you now, and it connects directly to this uranian activation. But before understanding why your inner world feels electrified, you need to understand why the next 48 hours carry an intensity unlike anything you have experienced in a very long time. Because what this transit does is rip open stagnant mental patterns that have survived far beyond their expiration date. Beliefs you inherited without questioning them. Conversations that repeat endlessly without meaning. Habits and routines that once created safety but now quietly imprison your growth. Uranus does not politely ask whether you are ready to release them. It tears them out suddenly. And the frightening part for many people is that this awakening may initially feel like chaos. Their reality may begin shifting before they consciously understand what is happening. One moment, everything feels predictable, and the next moment, the entire emotional atmosphere feels unfamiliar. This is because, on April 25th, less than 1 month ago, Uranus officially entered Gemini, where it will remain for the next 7 years until May 2033. Uranus takes 84 years to complete one orbit around the Sun, meaning most people experience this placement only once in an entire lifetime. And every time Uranus changes signs, it does far more than introduce a new theme. It destroys outdated systems connected to that sign, so something radically different can emerge. During the previous 7 years, Uranus traveled through Taurus, destabilizing the material world. Financial systems shifted, supply chains fractured, Questions about food, survival, security, and physical stability dominated collective consciousness. Humanity felt uncertainty beneath its feet. But now the disruption has entered a completely different territory. The instability is no longer centered in the external foundation. It has entered the human mind itself. Gemini governs thought, communication, language, education, technology, media, and the nervous system. It rules how people absorb information and how they interpret reality. Uranus moving through this sign means humanity is entering an era where the speed of information, perception, and mental awakening accelerates dramatically. And today the Sun illuminates that process for the very first time. Imagine walking through a dark room for years, memorizing where everything is by instinct, believing the shadows are reality because you have never seen anything else. Then suddenly, an overwhelming floodlight turns on without warning. Every hidden detail becomes visible at once. Every illusion collapses immediately. That is the sensation this conjunction creates psychologically. It is not gradual awareness, it is instantaneous recognition. Once the light appears, there is no returning to unconsciousness. Once truth becomes visible, the old mental story cannot survive intact. This is why Uranus transits often feel emotionally overwhelming at first. People are forced to confront realities they were previously able to avoid, and yet hidden within this discomfort is liberation. Because the moment outdated thinking cracks apart, evolution begins. Astrologically, a conjunction occurs when two planets occupy the exact same degree of the zodiac, blending their energies into a completely unified force. Here, the Sun merges with Uranus in Gemini, combining identity with revolution, consciousness with disruption, awareness with awakening. This creates explosive mental clarity, sudden breakthroughs, revelations arriving with shocking speed. It can feel as if the universe downloads new awareness directly into the mind overnight. People wake up sensing that something fundamental inside them has shifted, even if they cannot explain it logically yet. Their perspective changes. Their priorities change. The way they interpret the world changes. But what makes this transit even more powerful is that it is happening collectively. Everyone is touched by this frequency, whether they understand astrology or not. Many people will simply feel anxious, overstimulated, emotionally scattered, or unable to focus. They will sense pressure building internally without recognizing the cosmic mechanism behind it. But you are different. You are meant to recognize what is happening while it unfolds. And that awareness matters, because when the Sun joins Uranus in Gemini, three powerful breakthroughs begin moving through the collective mind at incredible speed. The first one starts inside your own consciousness. It is cognitive. It is immediate. And it feels as though your brain has suddenly awakened into an entirely new operating system. Something inside your mental world is beginning to fracture right now. And if you are feeling disoriented, overstimulated, or strangely awakened all at once, it is because the part of you that used to see reality in simple categories can no longer survive under this frequency. Gemini governs the mind itself, the internal mechanism through which you interpret experience, absorb information, communicate meaning, and organize truth. Most people spend their entire lives trapped inside rigid mental frameworks, believing everything must fit neatly into opposing sides, good or bad, success or failure, truth or illusion. Human consciousness was conditioned to function through separation because separation creates predictability, and predictability creates psychological comfort. But Uranus was never designed to preserve comfort. Uranus exists to interrupt patterns that have become too small for your evolution. And today, as the Sun merges with Uranus in Gemini, your mind is being pushed beyond linear perception into something far more expansive and unsettling. You are entering a state where contradictory truths can exist simultaneously without destroying each other. Instead of needing reality to be either this or that, you begin understanding. It can be both at the same time. This is not confusion. This is consciousness expanding beyond binary programming. And for many people, this realization will feel almost supernatural because it arrives so suddenly. One moment you are thinking the same way you always have, and the next moment an entirely new perspective crashes into your awareness fully formed. There may be no logical progression leading to it, no step-by-step explanation. It can feel as if information suddenly appears in your mind from nowhere, complete and undeniable. A realization, a knowing, a mental breakthrough so sharp it almost startles your nervous system. Ancient esoteric teachings would describe this as tapping into the universal mind, the invisible field of intelligence existing beyond ordinary perception. Modern psychology might attempt to explain it as subconscious integration happening instantaneously beneath conscious awareness. But regardless of the language used, the experience itself remains the same. You suddenly understand something you did not understand before, and even more strangely, you trust that understanding immediately. You do not need external validation for it, you simply know. This is why uranian energy feels so destabilizing to people who cling desperately to certainty. Because once these revelations begin arriving, you stop blindly accepting inherited narratives. You stop automatically trusting systems simply because they have authority attached to them. Mainstream beliefs begin feeling hollow. Consensus reality begins feeling incomplete. Messages repeated endlessly by institutions, media, experts, influencers, and public figures begin triggering skepticism instead of obedience. And this is where many people become afraid of their own awakening, because they mistake questioning for paranoia. But what is happening here is not paranoia. It is mental sovereignty, returning. Uranus in Gemini demands that you reclaim ownership over your own perception. It forces you to stop outsourcing your thinking to people who profit from your unconsciousness. Because once an individual truly begins thinking independently, once they stop needing permission to interpret reality for themselves, they become impossible to control. That is why this transit matters so deeply. Your consciousness is leveling beyond the limitations you once accepted as normal, and once that expansion occurs, there is no pathway back to the smaller version of your mind. But this awakening does not stay trapped internally. The second breakthrough erupts outward through communication, and this may become one of the most emotionally intense parts of the entire transit. Gemini rules speech, expression, language, and the throat itself. It governs how truth moves from inner thought into external reality. And for years, perhaps even your entire life, you may have been filtering yourself to survive, editing your emotions before speaking them aloud, swallowing reactions that felt too dangerous to express, choosing peace over honesty, choosing acceptance over authenticity, saying what made other people comfortable instead of saying what genuinely lived inside your heart. But today, something changes. The filter weakens. The internal pressure becomes too strong to contain. Uranus does not negotiate with silence. It exposes truth abruptly, unpredictably, and without concern for whether everyone else is emotionally prepared to hear it. When the sun illuminates Uranus in the sign of communication, suppressed words rise rapidly to the surface. Suddenly, you may find yourself establishing boundaries that once terrified you, refusing requests you previously accepted automatically, confronting behaviors you tolerated for years because you feared conflict or rejection. And the strangest part is that the words may not feel planned at all. They arrive instinctively, almost as if your soul speaks before your fear has time to interrupt. The truth pours out with shocking clarity, and while this will feel liberating for you, it may feel deeply destabilizing for others. Some people will finally feel as though they are meeting the authentic version of you for the very first time. They will recognize your honesty as power. They will feel drawn toward this unapologetic energy because it carries emotional integrity. They secretly crave themselves. But other people will react very differently. They may become defensive, offended, distant, or angry, because truth has a way of exposing relationships built upon performance rather than authenticity. Many connections survive only because everyone involved silently agrees to avoid uncomfortable honesty. Uranus destroys those unspoken contracts instantly. And this is where the deeper sorting process begins. This alignment acts almost like a cosmic filtration system, separating people according to energetic resonance. Those capable of growing alongside your truth will remain. Those attached to the version of you that stayed quiet, agreeable, and emotionally edited may begin falling away naturally. This could manifest through friendships dissolving unexpectedly, emotional distance forming within family dynamics, or entire social environments suddenly feeling spiritually incompatible with the person you are becoming. And while that process may initially resemble loss, it is actually liberation unfolding in real time. Because, after the discomfort clears, something extraordinary begins happening. You start attracting individuals who resonate with your authentic frequency rather than your performed identity. People who do not merely tolerate your honesty, but feel activated by it. Uranus in Gemini is deeply connected to finding intellectual and spiritual alignment through communication. It is about discovering the tribe capable of meeting your truth without trying to reduce it. And often the only way to find those people is by becoming honest enough to repel everyone who was never aligned with your evolution in the first place. But this transit still carries another breakthrough, and this one may alter the direction of your life so suddenly it feels as though reality itself changed course overnight. Uranus is famous for unexpected redirection. It enters quietly, then suddenly opens pathways no logical mind could have predicted beforehand. And when it merges with the Sun in Gemini, the sign connected to movement, pathways, travel, and possibility, dormant timelines begin activating at incredible speed. Opportunities may emerge from places you never considered relevant before. A conversation with a stranger may introduce you to an entirely different future. A sudden offer may appear connected to a field you never imagined entering, yet something inside you immediately recognizes its importance. Doors you did not even know existed begin swinging open without warning. And what makes these moments so powerful is not their predictability, but the strange, undeniable feeling attached to them. They arrive unexpectedly, yet simultaneously feel destined. What makes this moment so dangerous for some people is that they are going to mistake divine redirection for disaster. They are going to look at the sudden instability unfolding around them and assume everything is collapsing, when in reality, something far more intelligent is taking place beneath the surface. This is not random destruction. This is cosmic correction. And if your carefully constructed plans begin breaking apart today, you need to understand that the universe may be rescuing you from a future your soul already knew was misaligned long before your conscious mind realized it. Many people have spent years walking paths they believed were safe because safety feels emotionally convincing. You create goals, you make sacrifices, you stay disciplined. You commit yourself completely to a vision of the future because you believe stability equals success. But then, a Uranian moment arrives, and suddenly the structure you trusted begins cracking open right in front of you. Commitments unravel. Plans lose momentum. Situations that once felt secure become unpredictable almost overnight. And in that exact moment, when certainty disappears and control slips through your fingers, you are confronted with the deepest spiritual choice of this transit: fear or trust, panic or surrender. Because what appears externally as chaos may actually be the first honest alignment your life has experienced in years. Uranus does not dismantle things out of cruelty. It dismantles the systems, attachments, and trajectories that have been quietly suffocating your evolution. That career you fought so hard to maintain may have eventually drained your spirit until you no longer recognized yourself. That relationship you kept trying to force into permanence may have required you to shrink emotionally in order to keep it alive. That future you labeled practical, stable, and responsible may have slowly disconnected you from the parts of yourself that were born to feel inspired, challenged, and awake. But people cling to familiar suffering because uncertainty terrifies the human nervous system. The known pain often feels safer than the unknown possibility. Uranus interrupts that illusion violently. It removes the option of staying asleep inside a life that no longer reflects who you are becoming. And if something destabilizes today, if a pathway suddenly disappears, if an expectation falls apart faster than you can emotionally process it, there is a reason. Something larger is attempting to enter your life, and the old structure no longer has enough space to contain it. That is why the new opportunities arriving under this transit may initially feel uncomfortable or even frightening. They may not resemble the future you originally planned. They may require risks you once believed were impossible for you. You may feel called toward directions your logical mind cannot fully explain yet. But there is a very specific sensation connected to authentic uranian redirection. It feels electric, sudden, alive. Something inside your chest responds before your mind has time to analyze it. An instinctive recognition appears, almost like your soul whispering, "This is the doorway. Trust that feeling." Because the breakthrough unfolding now is not merely about opportunity. It is about realizing that your life has been trying to reroute itself for a very long time, and today the signal becomes impossible to ignore any longer. This is also why so many people have felt mentally overstimulated in recent weeks without understanding the cause. Ever since Uranus entered Gemini, your nervous system has been undergoing an invisible recalibration process. Gemini governs the central nervous system, the network responsible for carrying electrical information throughout the body and mind. Uranus itself is associated with electricity, sudden impulses, acceleration, and energetic surges. When those two forces combine, the result can feel incredibly intense, psychologically and physically. You may have already noticed symptoms appearing gradually, your thoughts moving faster than usual, ideas arriving quicker than you can organize them, difficulty focusing on one task. Because multiple realizations keep interrupting your attention simultaneously, an inability to mentally slow down even when your body feels exhausted. Many people immediately assume something is wrong with them during this phase. They label the experience anxiety, distraction, or emotional instability, because modern society has conditioned people to fear mental intensity instead of understanding it. But what is happening now is much deeper than ordinary stress. Your mind is adapting to a higher frequency of awareness, and today, when the Sun directly activates Uranus in Gemini, that acceleration reaches its peak. For some people, this will feel exhilarating. For others, it may feel overwhelming, almost as though their brain is vibrating faster than their physical body knows how to contain. Restlessness may become impossible to ignore. You may suddenly feel an uncontrollable urge to move, create, speak, write, or release energy somehow. Your chest may feel tight with anticipation. Your hands may feel unusually sensitive or twitchy. Some people may even notice strange energetic sensations around the base of the skull or through the palms of the hands. These are manifestations of uranian electrical activity moving through the nervous system. And the most important thing you can do is stop resisting it. The moment you attempt to force yourself back into old rhythms, pretending nothing is changing internally, you create energetic friction. This transit was never meant to keep you frozen. The energy must circulate. It must become expression. Walk if you need movement. Speak if you need release. Write down the ideas flooding your consciousness. Create something. Dance. Rearrange your environment. Have the conversation you have been postponing. The point is not to suppress the voltage moving through you. The point is to channel it into reality. Because this alignment is not only about receiving insight, it is about transforming insight into activation. Uranus does not awaken people simply so they can think differently. It awakens them so they can live differently. A realization becomes a decision becomes movement, a conversation becomes transformation. And suddenly an entirely different timeline begins unfolding from a single moment of awareness. That is the real lightning strike happening today. Not just illumination, but initiation. And despite how intense all of this sounds, there is a hidden grace woven into the center of this alignment that many people fail to recognize at first. Beneath the disruption, beneath the unpredictability, beneath the emotional shockwaves, this transit carries something unexpectedly benevolent. Astrology teaches that every degree of the zodiac contains a deeper symbolic meaning through what are known as Sabian symbols, mystical images connected to specific energetic frequencies within the zodiac itself. Today, the Sun and Uranus unite at 1 degree and 30 minutes of Gemini, and the Sabian symbol associated with the 2nd degree of Gemini reveals something profoundly important about the deeper purpose behind this entire experience. The image is Santa Claus secretly filling stockings, hidden gifts, quiet blessings arriving unexpectedly, surprises emerging from unseen forces operating behind the scenes, which means the very thing that initially feels disruptive today may actually contain an invisible form of abundance you do not yet recognize. What makes this entire alignment so extraordinary is that the disruption arriving today is not evidence that the universe has abandoned you. It is evidence that something unseen has been working quietly behind the scenes on your behalf for far longer than you realize. Most people are conditioned to interpret sudden change as punishment. When routines collapse, when certainty disappears, when emotions become intense and unpredictable, the human mind instinctively assumes something has gone wrong. But the deeper message hidden inside today's astrology reveals the opposite. The instability is not a curse. It is a delivery system. The reason the breakthrough feels shocking is precisely because you were never supposed to anticipate the exact form it would take. The Sabian symbol connected to this conjunction describes Santa Claus secretly filling stockings, an image filled with hidden generosity, invisible assistance, and blessings arriving from sources you cannot immediately trace. The key word hidden inside that symbol is secretly, quietly, unannounced, which means the transformation entering your life now may not arrive through dramatic cinematic events, the way people imagine spiritual awakenings should appear. It may emerge through something deceptively ordinary, a random sentence spoken by someone who has no idea how deeply their words affect you. A message appearing at the exact moment you were losing hope internally. A dream that lingers in your nervous system long after you wake up. A thought arriving suddenly while performing some completely mundane task, yet carrying a level of clarity that changes your direction instantly. Uranian breakthroughs rarely announce themselves politely. They interrupt reality unexpectedly. And when this moment arrives for you, there will be something unmistakable about it. It will not simply feel intellectual. It will feel emotional, physical, spiritual, almost as though the universe reached into your life directly and placed something there with perfect timing. A realization, an opportunity, a redirection, a gift you never planned for because you never even knew it existed. And perhaps the most emotional part of this entire transit is understanding why the gift appears now. Because this is not random luck. This is confirmation. Confirmation that the difficult path you have been walking, the lonely path, the unconventional path, the path that forced you to trust yourself even when nobody else understood what you were becoming, was never a mistake. There were moments you questioned yourself deeply, moments where the isolation felt unbearable, moments where you wondered whether choosing authenticity instead of conformity had cost you too much. But today carries the energy of cosmic validation. It is the universe acknowledging your endurance. A quiet message saying, "I saw every sacrifice. I saw every silent battle. I saw every moment you continued moving forward despite uncertainty. And now something is being returned to you." That is why the chaos surrounding this alignment should not be feared. Chaos is only the outer wrapping paper covering the deeper blessing underneath. But understanding this energy intellectually is not enough. You also need to know how to move through it without overwhelming your nervous system, because the intensity of today's astrology is extremely real. This frequency is powerful, electric, and highly activating. If you remain emotionally ungrounded, it can create exhaustion, mental overstimulation, and scattered thinking. Fortunately, the chart itself contains stabilization energy designed to help anchor the lightning strike into something productive and transformative instead of chaotic. At 2 in the afternoon, only hours after the Sun and Uranus conjunction reaches its peak, Mercury in Gemini forms a sextile with Saturn in Aries. This aspect becomes the stabilizing force holding the entire day together. Mercury governs the mind, communication, ideas, and mental processing. Saturn governs structure, discipline, responsibility, and grounded execution. The sextile between them creates an opportunity to organize the flood of awareness arriving through Uranus. In other words, this aspect says, receive the insight, but do something meaningful with it. Write the ideas down. Create a strategy. Build structure around the revelation instead of letting it remain abstract inspiration. Because one of the shadow expressions of strong uranian energy is mental chaos. Too many ideas, too many realizations, too much stimulation without practical integration. People become overwhelmed by possibility and end up acting on nothing. Saturn prevents that from happening. Saturn says focus. Prioritize. Choose one direction and begin grounding it into physical reality step by step. That is the difference between temporary excitement and genuine transformation. But there is another influence moving through today's astrology that requires serious awareness, because not every emotional experience arriving now should automatically be trusted without discernment. Earlier in the day, Venus in Cancer forms a square with Neptune in Aries, and this aspect creates vulnerability to illusion, fantasy, projection, and emotional idealization. Venus square. Neptune can blur perception, especially within relationships, attraction, money, and emotional desire. Under this influence, people may see what they want to see instead of what truly exists in front of them. That is why discernment becomes absolutely essential today. If an intense romantic connection suddenly appears, pause before immediately labeling it destiny. If a financial opportunity seems unbelievably perfect, slow down before blindly trusting it. If someone arrives promising everything you have emotionally longed for, examine the situation carefully instead of surrendering completely to fantasy. Because the challenge under Venus square, Neptune, is distinguishing authentic Uranian breakthrough from Neptunian illusion disguised as salvation. One awakens you into truth, the other seduces you deeper into projection. And this is why the Mercury-Saturn sextile becomes so important. It allows logic to support intuition instead of competing against it. Today, you need both. Trust the signals inside your body. Trust the instincts that feel alive and electrically aligned, but also verify the details. Ground the emotion in reality. Allow wisdom and discernment to walk together instead of allowing fantasy to control the narrative entirely. This combination creates the healthiest possible way to navigate such a powerful energetic opening. Because the reality about Uranus transits is that the most important changes rarely happen during the exact moment of impact itself. The conjunction is the lightning strike, but the deeper transformation unfolds through the aftershocks that continue rippling outward afterward. Today initiates the process. The weeks and months following it are what truly reshape your life. Some people are going to wake up on Saturday, May 23rd, and immediately notice an emotional shift, a strange lightness, a clarity they have not felt in a long time. Almost as though an invisible burden quietly dissolved overnight. Their thinking changes, their communication changes, their relationship with themselves changes. Others may wake up feeling unsettled, but not necessarily in a negative way. More like the sensation of standing on the edge of something enormous, an awareness that an old chapter has ended permanently, even if the future has not fully revealed itself yet. Because that is Uranus, it does not invite you backward once awakening begins. It burns the bridge connecting you to outdated versions of your identity and forces movement toward a future your soul sensed long before your conscious mind accepted it. The coming weeks will become a period of integration. Slowly, carefully, you will begin applying the realizations arriving today into actual decisions, behaviors, conversations, and life changes. One choice at a time. One truth at a time. And by the time June arrives, many of you will look back at this exact moment and understand something profound. This was never just another day on the calendar. It was a threshold, the dividing line between who you used to be and who you were always becoming underneath the surface. The moment your consciousness finally aligned with your destiny. And if you have stayed through this entire message, know that your presence here was not accidental. Thank you for sharing your energy and attention in this space. If this message resonated with you and you want to continue exploring these powerful astrological shifts together, consider subscribing and becoming part of this growing community. Your support truly means more than you know. And if today's alignment stirred something inside you, if you felt recognition, awakening, or clarity while listening, share your thoughts and experiences below. Someone else may need to hear exactly what you have discovered during this moment. Until next time, take care of your energy, trust what is unfolding, and stay connected for more insights as these cosmic changes continue revealing themselves.